Okay? Now let us talk about the etymology of politics. To further deepen our understanding of politics, let us first discuss the etymology of politics. Okay? Actually, the word politics came from the Greek word polis. And I think you have an idea about the Greek word polis, okay? Which refers to the Greek city-state. Okay? And, sino bang hindi makakaalala sa movie na 300? Ha? Yan. Now, using the etymology of politics, we can discern that politics refers to the government. This is probably the reason why some scholars define politics as the art of government. And this is not wrong. Okay? This is not wrong. In fact, most people would look at politics at the first instance. When the word politics comes to the mind of a person, okay, most people would look into politics as something that the government does. Whatever the government does and whatever the people do in relation with the government, that is politics. Okay? Okay. So be conscious that while there is politics in every kind or context of social interaction, the indicators or appearances of politics are not the same. That is why I'm presenting to you the dual characteristics of politics. Okay? Number one, politics can be manifest, loud, and visible. And the second one is that politics can be latent, subtle, and discreet. Now let us talk first about politics that is being manifested, loud, and visible. When can we say that politics is loud or visible? Okay? Actually, there is an obvious politics when lawmakers debate intensely over a bill. Like for example, the bill that they are trying to pass now, okay, that will allow death penalty in the Philippines. Okay? And when lawmakers are debating intensely about this bill, it is manifested. Politics is being manifested, obviously. And it is loud and visible. Okay? But how about politics as subtle or discreet? Politics can also be silent. Okay? When we pay more than what is necessary for goods and services that we purchase, there is subtle or discrete politics into that. When we accept rules that we are not even aware of how they were made, or when we comply without necessarily understanding why, politics there is latent, subtle, and discrete. Okay? How about you? Can you give an example or situation wherein politics is being manifested or politics is being subtle and discreet? Okay? Now, we can also understand politics by differentiating a narrow interpretation and a broad interpretation of politics. Okay? And now, a narrow interpretation of politics is where politics happens, the venue, and it is labeled as the arena approach to politics. Okay? This approach can be best understood if we acknowledge that politics only happen within the formal institutions of the state. It is a narrow interpretation because it limits politics to the state and all its instrumentalities and related institutions. Okay? A narrow interpretation of politics because it limits also into the hierarchy of offices, laws, and policies of the state. So there is limitation. a narrow interpretation of politics that must go beyond the formal institutions of the state. Like, for example, an arena approach to politics also covers activities and actions that are sanctioned by the state, like elections, which serve as the mechanism whereby citizens get the chance to be involved in the election of individuals who will hold public office. Okay? And ideally, when citizens vote in elections, they exercise their rights as well as their duty as a citizen. But how does election an example of a narrow interpretation of politics? Because it limits to the formal institutions of the state. Okay? Like, for example, when the government provides services to the people, that is a narrow interpretation of politics because it is in the formal institutions of the state. It does not go beyond that institution of the state. Okay? Now, politics in its narrow arena interpretation then is desirable politics. Why? Because we see politics and the activities related to it either done or executed by the government or the people or a certain social group or movement are within the boundaries of legality or rightfulness. For example, the state holds elections for the purpose of forming a government that will provide a link between the citizens and the state. Okay? And elections also apply or supply legitimacy to a government to create and enforce laws that will benefit the people. Not only the people, but the community and the society as a whole. Okay? So the narrow interpretation of politics, therefore, is the interpretation of politics that is legal and within the boundaries of rightfulness. Okay? So, mali pala yung pag sinabi nating politics, negative term agad. Okay? Because in the narrow interpretation of politics, we view politics as a formal, legal, just, and rightful politics. Okay? So that's the narrow interpretation of politics. Now, how about the other one? The second interpretation of politics is a broad interpretation of politics, where politics happens inside and outside the legal framework, and it is labeled as the process approach to politics. If the narrow interpretation of politics limits itself to the legal framework and institutions of the state, a broad interpretation of politics, on the other hand, does not only limit on the legal framework, but also outside the legal framework of the state. And it is called as the process approach to politics. Okay? So politics in this sense is not limited to formal political institutions, but extends to include other institutions within the society, such as the family, the church, the private sectors, the civil society, and other parts of the society. Meaning, it provides a comprehensive view of politics. It goes beyond what the narrow arena approach offers in order to understand politics. Okay? Yan. Now, politics in its broad or process interpretation does not only focus on elections and various legal means of citizen participation and representation, like referendum, elections, people's initiative, okay? But politics in its broad sense also include organized protest, rebellion, and other activities that are outside the constitutional and legal framework. Okay? But as you observe, the first set of activities like elections and various legal means of citizens' participation, whether directly or indirectly, is being sanctioned. Meaning, the first set of activities are being limited by the state because it only limits itself to the legality and formality that the state may offer. Okay? While the second set of activities like organized protest, rebellion, and other means that are outside the legal framework aim to challenge the power of the state. Okay? So, the broad interpretation of politics, therefore, will really tell us that politics does not only limit itself to the activities of the government, but it includes all the sectors of the society, even the means of challenging the power of the state. Okay? Like, for example, coup d'etat, rebellion, insurgency, even terrorist acts, when they challenge the power of the state, it includes in the broad interpretation of politics. I hope you get it. Now, as Adrian Lefwitz argued, that politics comprises all the activities of cooperation and conflict. Okay? So, this is Adrian Lefwitz. The process approach then puts superior on the activity of governing or governance. Okay? That is how decisions are made and executed for the society. The question is, who will decide? Obviously, decisions are made by the formal institutions, okay? After considering its interaction with the informal institution. So, politics then, as a broad interpretation, will also look into the interaction of the formal institution, the government, okay, and the informal institutions, the society, the civil movement, the NGOs, religious organizations, okay? And when formal and informal institutions interact together to create a certain situation that will affect the society as a whole, is a politics in its broad sense. Okay?